They've all committed to 100% renewable electricity by 2030. Why not Montclair? We need to see the policies that are going to change the fossil fuel system we live in. We need to change our system to make it more sustainable, more just, more green. And we need to let our leaders know that they need to take action to prevent it. So we're going to hear from speakers today. We're going to give you a chance to take action because we want to make sure that you have your voices heard by our leaders. I want to thank everyone for being here today. It's great to see the crowd. We want to make our voices heard. So I'm going to move on to the first speaker. Our first speaker today is Chris.
What was that? I'm sorry.
We're going to get some video out there on this?
I hope so.
Good.
Hope to see if anybody's going to talk to me yet.
I'll talk to you. I'm
sure, yeah, go ahead.
I'm Mitch.
Hey, I'm Vladimir.
Part of the Montclair Dems, but we were one of the sponsoring groups, so there's a whole bunch of organizations. The guy that's speaking is really the sort of led this whole effort, so if you're going to hang around, I'll introduce you to him.
Sure, yeah.
The guy's name is David.
What's that? Sort of, kind of. Oh, what's that?
Are you? Yeah, well, I think we have some contact with them, and it's.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if somebody's here from your organization or not. I know. Okay.
So you were saying, I'm sorry.
So this event, how did you find out about us? I'm just curious because
I'm just getting a whole bunch of emails where events are happening, and I'm always happy to say and talk to people.
Okay.
I like doing that, picking the minds, see what people think. So what's this all about?
So this is sort of an ad hoc group committee, and you can see some of the organizations that were part of it. Got together to climate focus. Most of them are environmental or climate focused organizations. And it was led by David, who was head of the Montclair Climate Action Group, MCA.
So it's the local group then?
It's pretty localized.
Got it.
And these are local chapters of some of the national organizations like the Sierra Club and Empower, which is Empower is a big organization. It's sort of an umbrella organization with lots of different groups in that.
But what's the goal? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Stop fossil. The ask. There's going to be an ask today.
I'm sorry, it's going to be what? Oh,
we're going to do an action.
Okay.
Send electronic sort of letters to Murphy to stop, shut down basically construction of new fossil fuel infrastructure, like pipelines, refineries, anything new that's going to increase fossil fuel.
But you're going to keep the old ones.
Right. The idea is just you're digging a hole for yourself, right? With carbon-based fuels, right? Stop digging because we got a problem. So let's not make any more. Let's not have any more pipelines coming in. Let's not have fossil fuel infrastructure in the state. So let's stop that.
But what includes fossil fuel? Because fossil fuel is so broad.
Natural gas, oil. Those are the two principal fossil fuels.
So
I don't know if there's any coal-fired plants left in the state. There might be one or two.
So, in other words, you want to stop the new production of development?
New infrastructure.
But you're going to keep oil and gas.
Well, you have to keep some infrastructure, and you're going to have to transition away from that. Right?
But how are we going to do that? I mean, that's something kind of boggles my mind. I mean, how can we transition from oil and gas? I mean, we use oil not just for heating, we use oil for so many other purposes.
Sure.
So, I mean, how are we going to...
And a lot of natural gas. So, it's not going to be an easy transition. It's a massive infrastructure. The whole economy is built around fossil fuels. But, solar, wind, some people disagree about this, but nuclear are all climate change gas-producing technologies.
So you are for nuclear?
I am. I'm not sure everybody in this rally.
No, I agree with you, actually, 100%. Nuclear is the best way to go, for sure.
All of those options have to be on the table.
But the problem is, the areas that you touched were basically, I guess, for heating, for instance, but oil is used for transportation. Right. And oil is used in everything, basically, that you wear right now. Your glasses are made of oil, your head is made of oil, your shirt has parts of oil.
I mean, so I think it's when you burn it, it's the problem. When you burn it and you release the release the carbon into the atmosphere. That's-
So you're not against banning oil completely. You're just okay.
I mean, you're gonna pave the roads. There's gonna be oil in the macadam that paves those roads, but that's oil. That's the carbon's not released. You know, it's when you burn the stuff you release the gas.
I see. And what do you think is going to happen when we have more CO2 in the atmosphere? I mean, you believe that?
I'm very pessimistic about our future unless we can change the direction.
But what are we going to do? I mean, seriously, let's say we in America stop everything. Let's say we stop producing oil. Let's say hypothetically we stop driving, we stop using oil altogether.
I think you just have to...
But let me finish. But we have countries like China, for example, who is off the hook. I mean, what are you going to do about the Chinese? I mean, if you were to protest, wouldn't you have to protest against the Chinese in the first place?
Well, so this is a...
It's a global problem, right?
It's a global problem. And there's no global... I mean, look, we were in Copenhagen trying to globalize...
China never showed up. Russia never showed up.
Organized global...
And I'm from Russia, by the way.
We didn't... Oh, you are?
Yeah.
So we didn't show up. We went to Kyoto and we didn't honor those pledges. You know, so there's lots of problems with coordinating a massive change in the global energy system. And because you've got so many different actors politically, trying to do this. I think.
But isn't that the problem? I mean, the major problem.
Right. So to me, I flip the question the other way. So like, okay, so we go like this. Everybody goes, okay, you guys aren't doing it, so we're not going to do it. But we're all going to ride this thing to hell eventually. And we can all point fingers at each other as we're, as the world is changing in ways that are going to be catastrophic. I think you have to start by leading. You have to show leadership, which America hasn't done for the last 4 years. And then, I mean, there are mechanisms that you can use. So for instance, Europe is debating a carbon tax on imports. So if your country isn't compliant, then we don't have to accept that from you if we're going to be trading partners. So I think there are other mechanisms that you can use to start to, short of war, coerce, put pressure on other countries to come into a climate.
And you think the Chinese will comply? And you think that the Europeans or Americans will ever going to do that? Everything that they wear, I'm sure, made of China. I mean, most of the stuff that we see around is made in China.
Yeah, we're in an international trading system, which I think is good because it maybe gives you a little bit of leverage into that.
Okay.
But I think, in my mind, my hope is. The economic effects, the economic cost of climate change, which is not calculated often, will start to have each country itself say to itself, we have to be part of the solution because the economic cost for us is so high. I think when, as Bangladesh starts to be inundated by the oceans, it's going to drive climate migration into India, into other parts of Southeast Asia.
But you're totally convinced. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, we can't really predict what the weather is going to be like a few hours from now, yet you're 100% sure what's going to happen 100.
It isn't about
200.
weather. It's about average temperatures.
But it's been changing. I mean, throughout just 1,000 years, it's been changing dramatically, let alone 4.6 billion years since Earth was actually formed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it like a normal process for climate to change completely?
I think it's completely abnormal because when you look at the measured CO2 levels in the atmosphere, I think it's been 4 million years since there's been this level of CO2 in the atmosphere.
Yeah, but 10,000 years ago, which is much smaller period of time, we had the ice shield in the exact spot where we are right now, 1 mile high. I mean, it melted somehow.
Right.
And it's only 10,000 years. There is no industrial humankind affecting the climate.
There are definitely effects on the climate by the orientation of the planet, solar radiation, other things can happen.
Exactly.
But you've got, I think, what's clearly happened is industrialization has released all this gas into the atmosphere that has this effect. It is definitely raises temperatures. We're definitely creating a greenhouse effect. So you have to recognize that it's actually happening and not trying to say, well, temperature varies and there's all these other reasons. There's a clear explanation for what's happening in this moment in time, for the last 250 years. So I think what you're saying is true, but it can also be true that you have another problem that's happening.
Perhaps. Let's assume that that's the fact. But the cost that we as a humankind are supposed to, the cost of it is so high, which tantamounts to a deindustrialization. That's another part that I kind of.
I don't think it's tantamount to deindustrialization.
But when you cut the production of oil and the humankind is growing, the population is growing, everybody wants to have a nice, comfortable life. I'm sure that you mentioned Bangladeshis, who are some of the poorest people, unfortunately, on earth. They would love to live for the standards of living that we're living, driving nice cars, living in nice, warm houses, having electricity, TV, and so on.
Yeah, I think economic equity as you go through this process is a real big challenge. I think because the industrialist countries, people that are living sort of richer lives because they are industrialized and they are the biggest emitters. So it's really, I think, quite climate justice is a real question. Like, so we're the big emitters. These are the people that want to become wealthier and live better lives. And now we're going to say to them, well, you can't have that because...
I didn't say that. I said just the opposite. My point was just the opposite, that they would like to live...
They would like to, but we're going to say no to them because...
No, why should... So that's your position, that we say no to them.
No,
because
I'm saying it's unfair for us to do this. So that how you balance these needs...
Exactly, that's my question.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's an easy solution to that.
But do you have an answer?
Because they can't afford the new technologies that we're going to need to resolve the problem. Their electrical grids can't handle.
But you would like them to develop more. You would like them.
Yes, I think we have to have them develop and continue to develop in a way that meets the goals.
But that will mean more emissions. So you're okay with that?
No. I think we need to help them develop in a way that's sustainable and non-fossil fuel based, if we can. Reduce the amount of carbon as they ramp up there. So we don't have to end everything. We just have to reverse. We just have to get to zero net emissions. Right?
And you think it's possible?
I'm hoping it's possible. I think technologically it's possible, but I think there's some technology still missing that's going to get you there, like carbon. Carbon capture is still, I think, something that's going to be needed to meet that standard. But I think we have to start somewhere. We have to start with trying to convert the energy production system away from fossil fuels. Solar is relatively cheap. The problem right now we have with that is that the grid is not constructed to accept solar.
So you truly believe that we humans are more powerful than, let's say, and you mentioned it, like solar flares, so like the changes in solar activities. I mean, don't we get almost all our energy from the sun? I mean, in the end.
We do. And I'd like to use that energy to power human...
Oh, I'd love to too. Once it becomes competitive, sure, I'm all for it. But again, the problem is your glasses are made out of oil. I mean, that's what I'm getting to.
We're not arguing. I don't think that...
So you're for drilling then?
I think you need oil in materials. You need oil. But that's different from... That's not a carbon effect. I mean, there's methane released in the production of oil. You need to capture that. You need to be careful about how you produce oil.
So basically you're not against drilling?
No, I'm against... what I want to do is decarbonize the energy system.
Okay, that does not include, again, just to make clear, stopping drilling, stopping...
I think drilling would be dramatically reduced because I don't think, most of the oil and gas taken out of the ground is used to power, cars, provide heat.
I see. I got it. But here's another thing. I mean, I like watching lots of documentaries, for instance, and what caused climate change. I mean, speaking of climate change, I mean, the most catastrophic things that ever happened were basically the volcano eruptions. I mean, do you discard the activity of a volcano? That if we were to talk about the apocalypse, is that the right word?
So if you were talking about the ice age, right? So if you had a lot of volcanic activity and it was throwing a lot of volcanic ash into the air, you'd actually reduce temperatures, right? Because it would reflect the sun away. I think I'm not sure why the last ice age existed, whether it was orientation to the sun or volcanic activity. I'm not.
So global cooling is possible then, right?
Sure. If you had global nuclear war, you'd cool the Earth too.
No, but way before that, of course. Well, excluding that,
right? I
right?
don't think we can count on volcanoes erupting to save us.
No, but it's you just said only 10,000 years, and 10,000 years is a short period of time.
I think that gets confused. Like people want to say the argument against climate change as a man-made problem is
correct.
Just the natural processes.
Exactly.
But I think when you look at the actual actions of men, and measure what's happening, and you measure what's the atmospheric carbon and the atmospheric methane, it's directly attributable to anthropogenic activity, industrialization of the Earth over the last 250 years.
So you see a direct correlation between the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.
It's possible you could have something happen in the background that was any of the things you're citing. Solar flares, you get volcanic activity, all that could happen. It's not happening now as far as I know. But that doesn't negate the fact that you have this measurable gas in the air that's linked to human activity that's clearly a climate, a greenhouse gas, which will definitely change the atmospheric temperatures of the planet. So you can see that process happening. And I don't think you can dismiss it by saying, well, temperatures have changed over millennia because of all these natural phenomena. Those things are both true.
Yeah, but what affects me is then I'll have to change my way of life. I'll have to pay more for, let's say, gas for heating and stuff like that. I'm not ready to do that. Well, that's kind of the thing.
That's a political challenge that we have. Now, the cost of solar, the cost of the transition here, I think if they can pass the Build Back Better bill, and they can start to modernize the electrical grid so it can accept more wind and solar in it.
I see. But how much electricity do we get from wind and solar?
Not enough, as far as I'm concerned.
And what's the number?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm glad you challenged me on that. I can't tell you what the answer is.
I know the answer. It's just 5%.
Oh, currently 5%.
Yeah, 5%.
Yeah.
80% of.
How much do we need?
Well, you want that number to grow to 100.
I don't know if it needs to grow to 100.
Well, let's say atomic.
Pretty close.
Atomic, I agree with you on that 100%. I'm all for nuclear energy production.
We're starting to see a change in the attitude.
But another thing, let's assume that your hypothesis is correct. Some scientists' hypothesis is correct. But then there's a timeline. I hear all these people saying we have to act now. It's an emergency. Well, Al Gore infamously said that. Well, by now the polar caps are going to melt. It never happened.
Well, it's happening in the Arctic.
I'm not so sure why didn't polar caps melt and isn't normal.
They're well on their way.
But it did not happen in 15 years. And again, 15 years is not now. It's 15 years. And
so
15 years.
I think these projections are difficult, and they can vary in either direction, right? So you can get it wrong.
Technically, yes, but why now? Again, why emergency? Why should? And by the way, you know what kind of bothers me, to be honest with you, when I see an entourage of 85 vehicles, the Biden is traveling in Rome. All gas guzzlers, when they fly to this, SOP, whatever it's called, 1626, COP26 conference, private jets. It's seriously?
I drove here in a car that has gas in it, right? So the current transportation system is
but I understand, but why private jet?
Symbolically, yeah, visually, the visuals,
But do you agree that it's kind of,
I would think
hypocritical? When Al Gore has 6 houses or so that consumes lots of energy, isn't it hypocritical of him? Coming from USSR, hypocrisy easily irks me a lot. Do as I say, not as I do. That's kind of the principle.
I agree with you, and I think the optics of that are terrible. But it doesn't distract me from the idea that these are systemic changes that have to happen. If you believe what I believe, then you need to make systemic changes.
I question everything.
The individual action, sort of doesn't really. Like for all of us to take a vow of, I'm only going to drive an electric vehicle. Those actions are okay, but I don't think they solve the problem.
They will not. And again, why
political leaders and people that want to speak out publicly and have a big microphone in the public forum, I think they should present the way you.
Well, exactly.
They should present it.
That's
properly.
exactly right.
I don't disagree with that. I think they're not helping the cause.
Let alone, of course, falling asleep during the conference, but that's a completely different story.
Listen, if you want to ask me about political, listen, Joe was to me, look, I'm a Democrat, so I'm here with the Democratic Party. Right. So I'm a Democratic.
Sure.
I'm part of the party.
What happened? Speaking of which, I mean, I was expecting Murphy to win like a breeze, and I was like totally shocked to see that
I think
it was a squeaker.
Not alone. Everybody's a little bit panicked and upset and nervous about what happened.
But why? I mean,
turnout. It's pure turnout.
So the turnout. It's not the policy. It's simply turnout.
I don't know. That's the forensic we have to do. Like, so why didn't people turn out?
What's your theory? I mean, why did that happen? Let's say besides the turnout.
All right. So I think there's a couple of structural things. One is that New Jersey and Virginia are always off year. It's not a national election. Mm-hmm. So you have much greater turnout when you have a presidential candidate on the ballots, right? So it's
but it works both ways. I mean, it works Republican and Democrat way. So why in this case?
So generally, turnout. Yes, that's right. So generally, turnout declines. People lose interest. Because it comes right after the presidential cycle.
Right.
I can say from just anecdotally, because I'm trying to get volunteers to come out and do phone banking and engage in election activities. The interest was when Trump was on the ballot, the presidential cycle was on. Democrats were super motivated to come out.
Okay.
And then it just fell off a cliff. Like they just sort of...
Because there was no Trump issue.
No Trump. Everybody's burnt out. They've had enough. COVID. Like they just sort of checked out.
I see.
So that's, I think, part of it. McAuliffe in Virginia tried to use Trump as a foil, and it didn't work because he's not on the ballot, right? Like,
exactly.
You can Trump, but you should be talking about other things.
Right.
I don't think Murphy sold the message on here's what I've accomplished, here's the uncompleted job, here's what I want to, give me 4 more years because I haven't finished the work, here's the work I want to finish for you. I don't think his campaign was particularly well done.
So, but you're absolutely certain that there's no kind of red wave, as they say. There's no kind of
New Jersey. There's a million more registered Democrats than Republicans in New Jersey.
And yet, I mean, look at yet.
And we didn't turn out. We turned out the lowest historical turnout.
Exactly.
And Chitterelli was able to motivate the base, so they did get a higher percentage of turnout.
Mm-hmm. But why do you think Republicans were more motivated then?
Well, I think they're fighting the culture war, which is a very powerful. So they're messaging on things like school choice, immigration, LTP,
CRT.
Yes, so CRT in Virginia, right? So there's no school in Virginia is actually teaching CRT, but Youngkin was saying, if you put McAuliffe in, they'll all be teaching CRT.
So doesn't it mean that maybe Republicans have kind of better messages, better solutions?
I think there's we are constantly as Democrats saying they're very disciplined, very organized in their messaging, how they approach people, what issues they pick to message on. Democrats like to talk about policy stuff and what we're providing to you, and I think we have to fight the culture wars.
Global warming may be one of the issues.
Yeah, because you're a skeptic. You're a skeptic on global warming.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so
I am. Look, it's not about. I'm skeptic in everything. Let me put it this way. And when it comes to science, I'm a chemical engineer.
Oh, okay, good.
So when you go to college, they teach you that you have to question everything.
Good.
Okay, and there is such a thing as a scientific truth. And I'm sure that you know that the scientific truth, the definition of scientific truth, is when 2 labs conduct the same exact experiment under the same exact control conditions and get exactly the same results. Right. It takes just 2 labs. Just last night I was watching about, let's say, why cesium was chosen to be as our atomic clock. Why specifically cesium? Precisely for that reason. They did 2 experiments. They calculated how many cycles cesium does. It's 9.6 billion cycles per second. So it was exactly the same number. There we go. It's a stable atom. It's the stable element. We use this for atomic clock for that reason. 2 labs, 2 experiments, same exact results. When it comes to science, to climate, we can't conduct this kind of experiments. So, your work and your theory is as good as anybody else's,
Right. So I'm saying, so you're saying, well, why should I pay the cost of all that on the basis of theory?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying, I think we have to take out an insurance policy, because if I'm right, it's fucking terrible, right? everything ends.
But it did in the end.
That's a big bet.
Yeah, but the Earth is going to end in 5 billion years. We know that because the sun is going to...
I want to make it through for my... I'd like to have grandkids. So,
what was it?
I'd like to have grandchildren. I'd like to meet my grandchildren.
Oh, okay.
I don't think my kids are going to have kids because they're so worried about this issue. They're worried about bringing a kid into the world.
Wait. Your children are not going to give birth?
They talk
You
like
must be
not,
serious.
No, my kids are serious about it.
Give them my number. I'll try to dissuade them.
I was going to ask you for your number because I love this because I want to challenge. You're challenging me, and I think that's a really good thing.
Sure. Let me give.
Do you live locally?
No, I live in Staten Island.
Oh, you made it all the way out here for this?
So what? It's only 40 minutes.
I know.
I travel around the world. You know.
It's fantastic that you came. Thank you for coming.
Sure, anytime.
No. Great.
So let's.
I'm going to send you a note after this because I want to keep this discussion going.
Sure, absolutely. I'll give you my card. Hold on.
Oh yes.
I hope I have enough. 1 second. Okay, so here's my card. Let me take it out.
So are you not working as a chemical engineer any longer?
I wanted. So in the back of the car, that's what they should pay attention to. Not my actual business, but this is what I'm trying.
I love that you're...
Because that's where I came from. See, and another issue that really bothers me is when people lately started promoting socialism. And all of a sudden, socialism became an acceptable form of government. Socialism all of a sudden became a viable alternative to capitalism. It bothers me to no end. I mean, I lived under socialism, and there's never been socialism. I mean, it wasn't real socialism. Well, that's the only socialism that ever happens when you try to implement the theory of socialism in practice. It always, every single time, ends up being dictatorship. Every single time. So I don't want socialism, aka dictatorship, in America. I live this nightmare.
Hey, so let me ask you a question.
Sure, go ahead.
So what do you think about the big fear on the left, which I'm not, is that we're heading towards the thing that you fear, sort of autocracy.
Yes.
But it's going to be led by the right. It's going to be led by Trump.
Absolutely not.
He's anti-democratic.
That's absolutely not true.
So you don't think any of the stop the steal stuff is anti-democratic? Do you think there's validity in what he's saying?
There's Trump makes lots of sense. Let me put it this way.
Do you think what he's saying about the election being stolen from him is true?
In a way, it was, and
How?
this is what I mean by in a way. I mean, I came from the country where there were two major newspapers. One was Pravda, which meant the truth, and the other one was Izvestia, which meant the news.
Yeah.
And the joke, and of course there wasn't the Soviet joke, you'll go to prison for that.
Neither news nor truth.
Yeah, so you know this joke, good. So when I came to America, I mean, the thing number one, and I was involved at the personal danger. Because in 1985, I was eventually summoned at Lubyanka. I was involved in Glasnost magazine, for example. The editor-in-chief was...
Don't get insulted. Are you Jewish?
I'm Jewish, yes.
So you left when there was a window?
Exactly, right, 1988. Yeah. So, and I was involved in these activities. They were deemed anti-Soviet activities. So it was very, very dangerous. I was really playing with fire and I almost ended up in Gulag. Thanks to Reagan, thanks to Thatcher, I'm here. And the Iron Curtain collapsed. So, I mean, I take freedom of press very, very seriously. And by freedom of press, I mean the right of anyone, left, right, center, communist, fascist, doesn't matter. You have the right to express your own opinion. Now, when the so-called news media has become basically, the right hand of you Democrats, I mean, that bothers me a lot.
News?
Well, most of it, except Fox News.
That's a significant piece of it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It shouldn't happen in the first place. CNN should have been on the left. MSNBC should have been on the left.
So do you think
Washington Post. So my point is,
truth or has a point of view.
Well, I question everything, like I said. So that's besides the point. But what really, really irks me when A, they're not telling the truth. B, when they don't cover the news which are newsworthy. And worse, really the worst, and that's where I'm getting to election being stolen, when, let's say, New York Post, literally a few days before the election, uncovered Biden's son's computer.
Yeah.
The New York Post was banned from Twitter.
Right.
The New York Post was banned from Facebook. You could not share this news. Trump himself, the president of the United States, gets banned from Twitter. Doesn't matter what he says. it's totally irrelevant.
Because I think when you say the election was stolen because the news coverage was shaped one way or the other, that's not what Trump is saying. He's saying it was literally stolen. That votes were stolen, and you can't have a national figure putting into question the electoral process. That, to me, is the most dangerous thing I've seen in my lifetime.
Let's go back to Hillary. Let's go to 2006 election. When she was saying,
you're not going to convince me on this one.
But she was saying exactly the same thing.
If you're not going to recognize what he's doing, then I don't see how we can have the discussion, because he's literally Giuliani and all these lawyers who are now all going to be sanctioned. They're all going to lose their law licenses because courts are going to determine that they just literally were making shit up about this to cast doubt on the election. Trump was calling election officials and asking them to change the outcome. That, to me, is somebody that came from a system that was controlled. That should scare the shit out of you. But it doesn't.
No, because
I don't get it.
Well, because we have elections, he has zero power. He can say whatever he wants. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. This goes to 12 and then.
Okay, but anyway. It was nice talking to you. You've got my card.
I'm going to send you an email because
send your kids.
I like being challenged.
Good.
That's good. I like that because it makes me better when you challenge me. Because if I can't have an answer for you, I got to figure out the answer.
Send your kids my way. I'll try to dissuade them maybe. Because this is.
Could you do that for me?
Sure, please. You got my number. Of course, absolutely. And that's this totally stupid reason, with all due respect to your kids, for not having kids, being afraid for their future. I mean, really.
Well, I have a daughter.
In America, of all the places.
I have a daughter who lives in San Francisco, right?
Okay, that explains it partially. Okay.
So she's got fired. Like, she lives there, and when the fire season happens, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. They literally can't breathe. They can't go out of their house.
Speaking of fires, you know what this is happening, right?
Huh?
You know why fires are happening in California.
There's no water.
No.
Everything's dry.
No. That's not the reason. Absolutely, that's not the reason.
Think that has anything to do with it?
Absolutely not. Well, partially. The main reason, forest management. Forest management, when two trees are right next to another, and they're dead trees, which burn like matches, versus removal of the trees, and removal making more space between the trees. So what are the chances
I don't think you can manage the entire forest system.
Oh, yes, you can.
It's massive.
Yes.
That's not how it happened before humans were on the scene, right?
Well,
but there were burns, and that cleared out the forest, and that happened periodically. But the incidence of burns are increasing over time. There's less water, less and less water. They're in drought. Marin County was at the point of having zero water next year.
But it's two issues.
The environmental problems are there.
If there's less water, then you have to even more space between the trees.
What I was trying to say,
logically speaking,
my point was that she lives in an environment where she's seeing real change in the few years she's been there. It's having real effects on her, the way she actually can live, because there are periods when the air there is so bad they cannot leave their.
Let her move to Montclair.
Well, the point I was trying to make with that was that she's linking that actual experience. See you, Stu.
Hey, how's it going?
Her actual experience in life.
How old is she?
She's 30. Is linked to what she and I believe, what she believes, are changes in the climate. She's actually seeing. She feels like she's seeing the beginnings of what we're going to be facing more and more. So it's her fear, I think, is founded on the idea that this is the future is happening, it's accelerating, and it's going to be going in this direction. So they are all questioning whether it's responsible of them to bring another human into the world to face something like that.
Unbelievable. So the first one, the 30-year-old. What about the other one?
I think they're all feeling the same way. I think they all feel.
Do both of them live in San Francisco?
Daughters, so.
3 daughters. All 3 think the same way.
They're all thinking
change the party.
And I talk to lots of my friends whose their kids are. I mean, this is a discussion our generation of kids is having.
Unbelievable. It's your fault then.
Oh, everything's good. You know that.
You brought them this way.
Yeah, of course.
So I tell my kids to question everything. From day one, do not take anything at face value. Nothing. Nothing.
No, I think
Question everything.
I think that's a good attitude.
Well, we were taught this way. I mean, the thinking people in USSR, we had to learn how to read between the lines because, like you said, there is no news in truth, no truth in news. So if you're a smart person, if you want to get to the truth and the news, you really have to learn how to read between the lines, meaning questioning things. So you're...
I'm sorry, I just want to say hi to
Sure.
Hey, John, how are you? Good to see you.
Thank you for this.
Oh, thanks for promoting it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, always.
Glad you could make
Keep
it.
sending us everything.
Yeah, we'll be doing more.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so it was nice talking to you again. Let me maybe talking to some more people.
Yeah.
Pick their brains. This woman doesn't want to have children either. So your daughters are not alone.
Oh, okay.
Her husband is pushing her. She says no. Isn't that crazy?
What? I didn't hear.
Well, it's Michael, I believe his name.
Who? You've been talking to?
Yeah.
My husband, Mitch.
Oh, that's your husband.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I know you're married. So he pointed out that your daughters don't want to have kids because of. Yeah. And I just spoke with another woman over there, and she doesn't want to have kids for the same exact reason. Is that insane?
Understandable.
I think it's insane. I mean, I'll be blunt with it. It's insane.
Well, but it's a motivation that is, we, came into life, grew up, wanted marriage, wanted housing, wanted a life not that different from our parents, because we weren't that worried about the other stuff, right?
You're not worried about the Russians attacking you, the nuclear disaster?
As a young married person.
Because I come from USSR. That's
well,
what we get up.
I'm just saying that those were not real threats to.
But those were much bigger threats. Trust me, nuclear, Armageddon.
That doesn't mean that that's how we.
Duck and cover.
Our kids receive this as they're going to bring children into the world that have, flooding, California no longer being there. I mean, they feel that these are real, imminent threats to their lives.
You truly believe in that?
I don't. They do.
Oh, they do. So you don't believe it? You don't?
I don't know. I am definitely worried about the threat, for sure. But I feel like there's a longer window than they're considering. But I don't know. Will they actually not have children? No. I don't think that this will, in the end. I don't think it's the end of the conversation. But they're early 20s, so they're all.
One of them is 30.
Well, yeah. She's already close to changing her mind.
Okay. What will change her mind then? Why the transition?
Truthfully?
Yes.
She's worried.
Did he give it to you in the 1960s?
She lives in California near her possible future mother-in-law, who's a bitch. So she wants to be close to family if she has a family. So not for attribution.
Oh, so it has nothing to do with climate?
No, it does. I'm just saying that in her day-to-day life, the real threat is of intervention by people she doesn't care for as much. So
I see. Okay. Well, I feel sorry for you not ever being grandparents. That's what your husband said.
I have to believe that we will. My middle daughter, he's kind of making it up, though. He's making up a story, because my middle daughter is adamant she will have children.
I've got a suggestion for you.
Tell me.
Just keep telling your daughter, and I gave your husband my card. I told him to contact me, ladies, your daughters. Tell them that this global warming thing is a hoax.
Oh, no.
No. Oh, you're not going to tell them that. You'd rather be grandmotherless, so to say, than tell her that it might be a hoax. Maybe it's a hoax, or maybe there's a doubt, or maybe it's only going to take 5 billion years. Well, what's not a hoax is that in 5 billion years, the sun is going to explode and there'll be no more Earth. That we know for sure. But we have 5 billion years to enjoy.
I don't think so. I think that my daughter is living in California where the fires are closing in on her home.
Well, yeah, I spoke with her husband. I explained why that is happening. Forest management, just one word. Very simple.
Well,
or lack thereof.
At any rate, I don't think it's a hoax. So, but I still think I'm going to have grandchildren. So. Anyway, good luck with your
good luck. Sure.
Bob, I'm telling little things I want to know.
Hi, Vladimir. This is. Could you give me a call back? We met at the
at the climate rally just now, and I'd like to have a few words with you, please. Thank you very much. 973. We spoke about my daughters who were concerned about having children, bringing children into climate crisis, and I just want to make sure that you do not include me. You understand from my husband that you were videotaping, and I'd like you to make absolutely certain that you're not going to include me. Please call me back. You do not have my permission to use any tape of me.
End of message. Delete. Press 7. Save. Press 9.